Artists don't like to talk about their work mainly because they feel their work should speak for itself. But I'm taking this opportunity to show you a little bit about where my paint world comes from, my subject matter, my technique, my inspirations, what I read, what I paint. And I hope that I can explain and give you more access into where I'm coming from as an artist. The genesis of this painting is a very strange one. It sometimes happens. I do sort of feel with my work that I'm kind of catching it out of the ether, that it already exists somewhere, and I just have to find it. And this painting happened. I woke up in the middle of the night with the painting fully formed in my head, and I ran down to my studio. I had this canvas on the easel because I really liked the dimensions of this canvas. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to paint the painting in the middle of the night. This is a painting that took probably 4 weeks to paint. But what I did was I wrote, and you can just discernibly see it, black along here. And the tonalities of this painting are very cool. And the reason they're very cool is that I had just come back from Norway when I did this painting. And I'd been to Oslo, and I'd been very interested in the fractured water that I saw on the fjord, on Oslo fjord, and these very strange and rather almost nauseated skies that you sometimes get in Scandinavia. Very agitated skies. I've put a lot of texture up here. I've built it up with a lot of medium acrylic again, layer upon layer upon layer of acrylic. It has a final glaze of oil. But by giving myself this aide-memoire of writing black, I knew that I had the core of the painting. I had the horizon, and I knew the horizon was going to be black. I became allergic to oil paint a few years ago, and I had to stop using it. And I very reluctantly took up acrylic paint, and it led me into all kinds of physical discoveries, cookery discoveries. And I use, to paint with, it's rather an old Renaissance technique, but I use something called stockinette, which is used for waxing cars. And I put it into the paint, and I rub glazes. So I get very, very thin veils of colour, one on top of the other. And so what I'm doing now is very gently rubbing this nickel azo gold on top of a painting that I started probably a week ago. So there are many, many layers of paint underneath this. And now I will take some more of my precious stockinette, and I will remove most of the paint. But it will leave a trace underneath. And people have talked about my paintings as palimpsests, which are manuscripts that have layers and layers and layers of meaning on top of them. And I have this belief that probably all of the layers of paint that I've put on a painting, somehow, this may be a mystical belief, comes through in the final work. This is poem number 11 by Pablo Neruda in a collection called Stones of the Sky, which has been very important to me in the last 2 years of work, and particularly this poem. From the explosion to the iron split, from the crevice to the road, from the quake to the fire, to the turning, to the river, that heart of sky water, heart of gold, stayed still, and each vein of jasper or sulphur was a rush, was a wing, was a drop of fire or of dew. Does the rock live without moving or growing? Does the marine agate really have lips? I will not answer because I cannot. So it was, the churning genesis of glowing and growing stones that live on ever since in the cold.